Good evening to the listening and viewing audience, to the ones that are listening to us via radio and the ones that are viewing us via live, either Facebook or any other social media. I would like to welcome you to another segment of Just the Facts. And tonight we have a very special team. It's a sports association, very dedicated team. And tonight we're going to have a conversation with them as they, in a few days, will be celebrating and a huge milestone within their field of sports. So I would like to turn over and welcome the members of the Cycling Association here with us tonight. And I would like to start off by having an introduction of who you are, your role within the association.
All right, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Terone Hodge-Carty. I'm the current president of the Anguilla Cycling Association. And with me, I have
Derick. I'm the Public Relations Officer at the Anguilla Cycling Association.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your introduction. And for the listeners who may not be familiar with the association, what is the mission and how has the association evolved throughout the years?
Well, thank you for asking that question. The Anguilla Cycling Association is primarily focused on the development of youth in the realm in the sport of cycling. We have concentrated a lot on making sure students in school, adults who are out of school and functioning, they have the ability to have exposure to cycling, which is a very popular sport in the international realm and also regional. It creates opportunities for development, mental and physical. Also gives the opportunity for travel, to be able to compete into regional and international events as well.
That's wonderful. It's a very holistic sport. It covers every part of the body, as we can say, correct?
Yes, it does.
And I know that you all will be celebrating a huge milestone in the next few days. But before we speak of that milestone, I want you to take us back to the beginning of John T. How and why was John T. cycling race established?
Well, if I can add to that, John T., Mr. John Thomas, he actually played a significant role in the carrying the mantle for, as far as relates to cycling here in Anguilla. I mean, back in the day, we would have competition more or less between Anguilla and St. Martin, but to add to that, a lot of the competition would have taken place up in Antigua. Now, Mr. John Thomas, his birthday is around the 16th of July. And basically so back then we used to have the race, the memorial cycle race for him in his honor, because when he had passed, the cycling fraternity felt that it was just to really pay homage to him on the basis of having a cycle race where in his name. So this is how the John T. Memorial Cycle Race came about, and that happened in 2000, because 2001, sorry. No, 2000, because we would have skipped a year based on COVID. So what he would have contributed, you will find that a lot of the cyclists back then, we never really had the means to travel to Antigua and those places, and Mr. John Thomas would have used his own money. And, you know, his statute, you know, he was the kind of like a godfather kind of personality. Mm-hmm. So he believed in the cyclists, and this strong passion and belief in everything. And in the cyclists, you would find then that he would take you to these places. And a lot of us got to travel just because of him. I can recall at the time I was 16, the one and only race I got to ride with him under his tutelage was, you know, when I was 16. And I can recall when John Thomas would say he would want to see you, it was a serious kind of atmosphere, because you just had to say, no problem, I got to go see him. You go see him, your knees shaking and everything, but you go. And the first time I met him, I took part in a cycle race, and I was 16 years old as a junior. I should be a junior, but back then, those guys them had a saying that if you could put your legs over the frame, you should be able to pedal. So I had to compete with like persons like Willie and those kind of fellas. And when I went to see him, He looked at me, he was in his couch, he didn't even acknowledge me. He just send the youngster who rode the race today, he was that impressive, and I want to have a talk with him. Somebody came up and said, Derick by John T want to see you. I like, really? I went straight on, man, and when I stood in front of him, Terone, I could recall him just in the couch with his leg up, and his eyes were closed. He said, yes. I said, sir, somebody told me that you wanted to speak with me. So he opened his eyes, Terone, he looked at me from head to toe, he said, you're a little on the thin side, but we will work on you. You will go places. And he told me that, man, and I took that to heart, and I was like, yes, this is the man, that spirit, that energy, and everything. So this is what I got to experience. But you would have had other cyclists who were older than me, like James, Evans, Chinese, and all of those other top cyclists at the time. They would have had the luxury of spending more time with him and doing a lot of things that they experienced. And I recently found out also that Mr. John Thomas, he wasn't about cycling only, he was about athletics in general. And you would find then that he believed in the long distance runners, the sprinters and everything. So what he would do, he would go to Antigua because they had a national day where they would have all of these activities. So he would walk with full cyclists, he would walk with long distance runners and also track and field. But John T later, he actually gave up on the track and field athletes because he thought that it wasn't serious. But he realized that the cyclists, by putting in the time and everything, that they were more serious, and this is how he gravitated towards cycling. And so we just wanted, at the time, Mr. Evan Gomes, he was the first president when they had formulated the Anguilla Amateur Cycling Association. And this is when they would have created a race in his honor. And it used to be around closer to the 16th of July, but we had some challenges within the Caribbean region of other participating countries or islands who would have had races around that time. So we felt in order to really capitalize in freeing it up, affording them like an opportunity to be part of this spectacular happening, so we would have moved the date, and that's how the date was moved, down to closer around the first weekend of July.
Interesting stories, Mr. Carty. So it seems John T also contributed to your development within cycling.
Yeah, yes.
So how do you feel now that from back in the years that he was contributing to your development, and now that you have to preside or lead within the association that he once was a part of? So now you're leading. So how does it feel for you?
It's knowing him, what his projection was, and how he felt about cycling. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. When you ride in a race, what I spoke of was the first time that I met him. I rode in our next race where we had Seco, all of those guys from St. Martin, and I was still 16. And John Thomas was peculiar in his character, where Terone would say, you go around once, and when you come, we used to finish there by English Rose, right? Terone would say, race done. Mm-hmm. And if he dare today to ever tell the cyclist, you know what, go again. And he knows what I'm saying. But back in the day, John T, if he feel that he didn't like the finish like that, he sent us around again a next lap. You couldn't say nothing. Everybody put back in the, in those days we had the straps. Mm-hmm. We had just gone to the clips, yeah. But we had the straps too. And you had to get your foot back in the net and you go around again, around the block. So the block would have been Albina Lake, the airport road, and come back. And I think one of those races, one of the fellas told him that the guys from St. Martin had pushed me off of the road because I don't know if John Thomas had big plans for me, but when we were coming to the airport roundabout, I was locked up for the sprint because I know then we coming down there, I want to get fast. I'm only 16. But the guys pushed me up on the fence, and I had to jump up on the fence on the bike and come back down. By the time I came down, the fellas were already gone. I tried to walk my way back, and I got close to them, but they came into the sprint. So somebody told him that, he said, all right, go again. Just like that, and you had to do it. And for those who complain about the Sandringham Hill, what he used to do to us is this, Terone. Every time you would pass to go down West End, we had to go down Sanarang first. You come back up, you go down West End. When you come out of West End, back down Sanarang again. And we had to do the island 3 times, which means you had to do Sanarang what? 6 times.
Wow.
So when you hear fellas here complaining about 2 times, I said that's a joke, man. Back in the day, we had to do that 6 times.
Yeah.
So if you think you don't like the hill, you would have hated it then.
And based on my research from Mr. John T, I've also noted that as you said, it wasn't only cycling for him. He was more into development sports on a whole on the island, because then he touched various sports during his time on island. But within the association, would you consider, or is it that the John T race is one of the most important races for the association?
It is.
Yes,
it is. It's I would say the pinnacle, the top, how do you say, get to the climax of our season, where we focus all our races in development through the beginning of the year towards this one race. It is where we invite islands, like how Derick said, we have shifted the date to accommodate countries like Martinique and Guadeloupe, who would have had already scheduled races around that same time, to accommodate them to be able to come and compete. There's a famous proverb where you say iron sharpen iron, and there's no other way to have fair competition and strengthen your cyclists at the same time by inviting other countries to come and take part in the John T race itself. So countries, even to this day, we still have countries like Antigua, we have countries Trinidad, Guyana, Barbados, right now St. Vincent, just to name a few of our very neighboring islands, St. Martin, St. Martin, BVI, USVI, Santo Domingo. We have cyclists coming from Belize to compete in this John T. So it happens to be the time of our season where we want all the islands to come in and be able to take part in this race, so that we can develop cycling throughout the whole Caribbean the same way.
Great. So it's a huge event, and it would be good to let the public know how significant this is for the association. And it also would like to know, if we look back into the early years and to now, what has changed? What has been so different in terms of the race?
Yeah,
and what should spectators be looking forward to?
I can tell you, you know, because a lot of the spectators who may not dive into what would have been the contributing factor for a reduction of the grouping. Back then we had a luxury of Liat, even though they would leave island at any time. But at the end of the day, it was easy to travel from one Caribbean island to the next. In today's, presently, we don't have that luxury of air travel. So for the cyclists who would still make it, you know, to our shows, it ain't easy to get to Anguilla. But for the cyclists who would make it, some of them would have to take time off from work. Like we had a team of 8 Barbadians who came today, and the race is weekend, and then they're traveling next week, right? So some people cannot take all of that time off from work. So you would find then that it's quite difficult and quite challenging. As an association, we would try to be innovative in ways and means as to how we can attract cyclists and get people to our shows. But the most difficult challenge that we've encountered, especially recently, for the latter years, would be air travel. From the time we would have lost Liat, it was very difficult to get our numbers up on that basis. Having the express interest to want to be part of this activity, you know, you will always get that. But realistically, like somebody from St. Vincent, from like Grenada, it might cost them like $2,100 to get to the US. So they gotta go to get here.
Yeah,
and it's expensive.
And in addition to one of those challenges of travel, you also have is an aging sport, where you have persons like Derick would have made mention of, that he grew up cycling, still cycling today, but we have to focus on new generations coming into the sport. You're seeing a lot of our senior elite riders now moving on in life, developing a family, focusing more on their work responsibilities. So they may not have the time to dedicate and commit to training and developing in elite cycling. So we started focusing on our grassroots program. So we ensured in Anguilla that we have that continuation. We went out to the primary schools, every one primary school and private primary school system, and we had conversation with teachers and students, and we got them encouraged into riding their bike. When I grew up, a bicycle was the best form of transportation. You had a BMX and 4 BMXs at your leisure, any color. Mag wheels, spoke wheels, stunt frame, lady frame, gear shifter, which is what we call it, with a banana seat. Those were different bicycles that we had access to. Nowadays, choppers. Nowadays, it's like not as common because it's not maybe a popular means of transportation. We want to bring that back, and we went into the school and we expressed the need for students to get involved in cycling. Then we started developing what we call the grassroots program. We reached out to you would have had a guest on last week, Timothy Richardson, a great coach, seasoned cyclist, with experience, years cannot done, would have been involved, and we asked him, do you want to get back into it? Youth only. And he was happy to assist, jump on board, got the wheels on fire now, one of the biggest clubs we have in Anguilla, going. And we also touched base with Patrick Niles, is another club, Brutal Pels in the Valley. He did the same thing, got students from the Valley School, from student school, nearby students in those nearby schools. And Josh Richardson in East End came up with a club called After Chains. So these were like the foundation where we focus on youth cyclists to get back interest into cycling. And it took off. It's taken off, it's happening right now where we can see continuation in cycling here in Anguilla. And I would say that is one of the challenges that we were faced with back then. We had a big gap between the Zambezi Richardson, the Hassani Hennis, and the upcoming next elite. We had any juniors at the time, so it was a big break between continuation that would have happened. And I think that was a challenge that had to be addressed coming into cycling.
And currently there's Hodge-Carty,
yes,
who is also going to be part of the Commonwealth game. But we'll get back to that. And 2 important areas were touched. Mr. Hodge, you spoke in terms of the challenges that the association faces when bringing in other participants from different countries. And Mr. Hodge, you spoke in terms of the youth, which is actually, when we talk about sports development, as you said, you need to make sure that you're holding the youth into the sport so that when the older ones are leaving, they will be the ones to take on the challenge. But I would like to touch first on that challenge, because for the general public, they might not know how difficult it is from the back, behind the scenes preparing for this race. And it's not 1 year, it's not 2 years, it's 25 years of the John T. race, and it's a huge milestone. So how does the association cope with trying to get participants into the island? As you mentioned, prior years with Liat on board, it was easier, but now it has become a huge challenge to get participants onto island. So how do you mitigate those issues?
Well, some of the things that we are doing, once we can make the race challenging, most people travel for the challenging effort, but also we got to make it conducive to their liking. We've put a lot of work. Actually, I would have been one of the founding members who would have formed the Cycling Association from way back then. So, we had COVID and everything. So I think I would have, I don't know, man, but I think being there for all of those years and everything, so I would have seen the growth. And one of the things that I can say to you is that Terone spoke about investing in the youth, because we need a rotational cycle to happen. But in addition to that, we took the race from just being an amateur race, just a basic race more or less. Now we are at the point whereby we would want to be noticed by UCI. So there are certain regulations and certain things that we have to do with commissaires and all of these things, and how we plan, how we interject with traffic wardens, all of these extra things that we are doing. We have a timing system of our own. So cycling would have advanced more or less. So when these cyclists would come, once you come once, you must come back again, just like the tourism slogan. And the good thing about our race is that it is one of the most enjoyed and loved races, and they would say that is one of the better organized races within the Caribbean region. So what we strive for is, if we can make it conducive to to you liking it, having a great time, making friends and everything, you would want to come back that bad that you would go to the extreme, even though we don't have Lee yet. So the ones who are here really love it and they want to be here.
And I got to say also too, a contributing factor to why people are compelled to come back to Anguilla, return and take part in a grueling race, because it ain't nice. I know what Derick would say, but sometimes you're on the road for 3.5 hours, is enjoying that pounding of the tarmac and cycling, sweating. But one of the major things that all the cyclists will say that they enjoy the hospitality of Anguilla. Passing on the road, someone giving you a banana, stranger, never met them before, giving you a bottle of water. We have communities. Every community, there are persons coming out of those communities, going lining the street, Anguilla flags, the country flags out on the street, sort of decorating the trail as they go around through the island, and also supporting them with water or whatever fruit they would use to consume during the race and stuff. That is something that they enjoy coming to it. And off the bike too. People meeting them, greeting them, saying good morning, and simple little things that we take for granted as our culture. They enjoy these things. They enjoy that family orientation that they have when it comes to the Jaunty race. So,
and to also build on that, to add to that, one of the things that we take for granted, because when you do it at your own place, you a lot of things you don't really recognize that would make a profound difference in their experience. And one of the things would be the support, as you spoke of, to the side of the road. Now, the cyclists would always say to me, man, look, we just love it. I am from the Dominican Republic, and I see Dominicanos to the side of the road with their flags and celebrating thing with a little grilled chicken and everything. So you know, that love.
You can stop and get a chicken while you're riding
the bike,
no problem.
You hung me on the bike, you know. So you make a note of that little stop point, you know, at the end of the race. But there are a lot of people who dwell here in Anguilla. It is not only Anguillians. We have from every Caribbean island. And during the Jaunty race, people just want to know who is coming. We have people from Dominica and everything. So you would find then the Dominicans come out and they support their own. The Kittians come out, anybody, they come to the side of the road. Once those flags are being flown, then you would find the cyclists, that's a boost.
That's motivation.
That is scared they don't get back by them. And we don't understand what we have here in Anguilla until you travel abroad and you see what their races are like. Sometimes you only got people at the start finish and that's it. You only got 1 or 2 at the start finish. And so when you come in, it's just something you did. But in Anguilla, it's an experience.
So what we have done, we sort of capitalize also on a lot of these same moments, these same experiences. So for example, for the 25th Jaunty, we have incorporated things like King of the Hill. We've looked at having an award for persons who will be the first to go into Standing Ground Hill and come back out in their respective categories. And we reach out to sponsors as far as St. Martin. I mean, as near as Martin, which SOS Radio, and they've contributed prizes. We're looking at $300 for the first elite that comes out of Standing Ground for the first lap, and another $300 for the first elite coming out of Standing Ground Hill. So you could get a maximum of $600. So we sort of incentivizing. There are a lot more incentives during the Jaunty race that are given to the cyclists as they achieve these different milestones. The first cyclist in each category to Welch's Hill, coming around from Island Harbor. That's a prize there again, $100, $50, different prizes. The first category place crossing start finish line. You could pick up another $50 there as well too. There are different. And thanks for reminding me that. We also got a prize for the last place cyclist. If you, in each category, want to come in the last place,
just finish your race, man.
Finish your race within that time, you get $200.
So can I add my name to the list?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm willing to come last and take my $200.
I'm sorry if you just missed the registration.
Right. I was about to say that. And also, you don't have to win to win.
Right.
I see, because you get $200 if you come within the time frame
established. You can be aggressive. You can be aggressive. Use the ball. The
shots, the matches.
You use the ball, the money in the bank, because you're putting all that energy doing a lot of crazy things. You ain't gonna win the race, but you're gonna win all those prizes.
Right. So it's like I say, it's cycling is a very expensive sport. The equipment that these guys ride on could exceed close to $15,000, $20,000. Tadej Pogacar is one of the leading cyclists right now on the wall, and his bike is $41,000. So these bikes, these
ECRs,
no, just US dollars.
It's us speaking, man.
Yeah. So it's a very expensive sport, and we recognize that. And there are, like how Derick said, you have to take time off from work, you have to travel distances to get to Anguilla. So we wanted to create an environment, not just from hospitality, not just the race condition itself, but some prizes, some preems that everyone could enjoy and be able to win. Now, on top of that, of course, yes, the winner in this 25th anniversary has opportunity to receive some $2,500 as cash prize for John T. alone, US dollars. That's the pot for the elite categories. And of course, we want to see our elites perform well. So that's why we put that cash prize at that height, that level. And we want to have that sort of competitiveness. You know, we want to have that entertainment. So when persons go on a road, they see these cyclists passing at 60 kilometers per hour, you'll be like, wow, this is a real race. This is something happening. And that's what we really want. That's why Derick said when we are exposed onto UCI, we are welcoming the UCI level of rules and regulations. We are checking bikes. We are making sure everyone is within their category and competing correctly. These are some of the things that we have put in place to make sure we have a fair competition.
So there's a lot of excitement that will be taking place for the John T race. So is there any other thing that the public should be looking forward to within the John T race, or the cyclists on the whole? Because you mentioned a lot of prizes, but is there anything, the type of races that will be taking place as well throughout the whole weekend?
We've shifted the John T from just one day. Traditionally, it used to be originally on the Sunday, just one race. We maximized the weekend. So we're starting off with Friday the 3rd. We're going to have our opening ceremony. This is a cocktail style setup where we'll allow our cyclists to meet and greet with our major sponsors. We're going to say kudos to the Anguilla government and the sports department, education department, the Anguilla government agencies for stepping up on this particular invitation, and they being our platinum and major sponsors. Very appreciative for that. And they're gonna have the opportunity to mingle and, like I said, share the experiences, what's been happening, catch up on some old news and stuff. And also it will be our opportunity to share technical information on what's going to be happening, the rules and regulations of what's going to be happening for the weekend. Now, that is the Friday, and then the Saturday, we're going to be having what we consider our crit races. This is a day where you go around the Queen Elizabeth Avenue block, and we start with all categories from U9 all the way up to the elite category, Masters, Masters A, Masters B. So those categories will be competing on the Saturday, just going around laps around the Queen Elizabeth Avenue, which is going to give them a great opportunity for the fans to come out to the Valley block, Terone block, and cheer on persons around the area, you know, give them that support, that boost. And like I said, they'll be clocking some speeds just doing that alone. And then of course, the Sunday will be the climax of the Grand Classic John T. Gonna start at the same Queen Elizabeth Avenue by the park. We're gonna head up to Island Harbor, through the Farrington Road, East End, come back down through Welch's, go over the start finish line, and then head into West End, come back out of West End and go into Standing Ground. And they're gonna come up the Standing Ground Hill. That's where we're gonna have most of the prizes, most of the people they assemble at that location, they cheer on. And I will say to all our supporters out there on the street, you can cheer, you can support the cyclists, but you don't touch them. Especially on Standing Ground Hill. You don't wanna push them, you don't wanna interfere with the cyclists themselves. You wanna maybe give them water, you can sprinkle on their back or whatever the case may be, but you cannot be seen pushing the cyclist. It's an infraction. It can be disqualification as well. So you want to make sure not to have that interference with the cyclists while they're riding. And then they come on back up through the Georgia Road, in through Mango Garden, and then come back over the start finish line as one lap. So.
And that's a very good point in terms of safety with the cyclists, that when they're racing, you don't touch them. Is there any other safety guidelines, rules that you would like to share with the general public that they should be aware of?
Well, yes, of course. We know that Anguilla, the traffic population has increased. So we want to urge all traffic users to please, if you don't have to go on a road on Sunday, stay off road.
Stay home.
Stay home.
Wait, you can't say stay home because then you will not get supporters out.
No,
So-
stay
So ride your bike.
off. Stay ride your bike, yeah. Stay off the main road where we're gonna have the race that's gonna actually be conducted. And if you are to come onto the main road, just be cognizant of traffic, of cyclists. They can easily exceed 40 kilometers per hour, which means within a blink, a cyclist could be right on you like that. So you have to be a little more aware of cyclists being on the road and just be cautious of when you are traversing on the public road on Sunday coming.
Amazing. So I would like to shift back a bit into the association per se. Currently, what are the biggest challenges that the association faces, and what opportunities of growth are there within the association and cycling?
Challenges, there are so many challenges. We look at cycling as a sport. I look at cycling as a activity where it can attract persons, commerce, business to the island. Jaunty alone, I've spoken to some rental companies, car rental companies, trying to resolve vehicles. And they say, no, I'm already booked out. I don't have any vehicles for that weekend. We have hotels and guest houses and Airbnbs are being booked out. We have persons in the supermarket who are, preparing their meals, their meal plans, and using specific products and stuff. So it goes a long way when you talk about just a sport. I've heard many persons throw around the term sports tourism. It is true. We're not just having fun on the road riding our bikes, but we're actually supporting the economy. We're actually contributing to many of these businesses so that they can continue and thrive. And it's something that we look at is not just, like I said, a sporting activity, but it should be recognized as a major income to the country. So I would say more support is something that would be needed for association like cycling and any other association to organize and coordinate a lot of these grand events that we tend to consider as an income for our country.
And what opportunities of growth do you see?
I mean, it's basically just to add to what Terone was saying. I mean, he would have given a brief, synopsis as to what it is. But sometimes when you're told about these things, then you understand. When we ask for support, it could be financial, it could be in kind, it could be goods. When we ask for support, we are thinking about people cooperating with what the rules and regulations are about the race itself. Even people joining in the race procession, that's an offense. This is why we would have asked the members of the Royal Anguilla Police Force to act on that. We're going to be marking the vehicles that we give a special permission. And once you don't have that, you should not be in a race procession. And we've had those challenges, but he spoke about the contributions. I mean,
and just before you say for that, I mean, there's a reason why we want to have only authorized vehicles in the convoy, because many years ago, unfortunately, we had a very tragic accident, and it was because of someone interfering with the traffic direction at that particular time. So it is of our interest not to have that tarnished name of having a race that's organized in Anguilla with an unfortunate fatal accident. So that's why we're really pressing on persons to want to be authorized to be in the convoy, and also to all traffic persons using the road to make sure be aware of cyclists oncoming or passing, so they don't have any interference or death.
And sometimes we speak about what is our culture as a people, as Anguillans. What is our culture really? When people come to Anguilla for sport or whatever, what is it that you can see at the ports when you come in that would be like when you go to other Caribbean islands, you hear music, you see their culture, you see things like that. What I would like for the Jaunty race, because when Terone spoke of persons going to supermarkets, the special dietary needs and all of these other factors, right? You got people renting Airbnbs and everything. And so you got families. It's not only the cyclists sometimes who would come, but more or less with their significant others. And so car rental agencies, the boats, the private boats, the public ferry system. So salaries are being paid with all of these guys. Then when they come here, they're renting these places. They're renting cars. So people who got these things, then they're going to Ashley and Sons. They're spending their monies and everything. It's a whole way of injection of funding within the island. So sometimes when we go to the business of choice and we say, would it be possible for you to assist us? They don't understand the concept that it takes a whole community to raise a child. The child being cycling or in a sport, the community being the business sector. And until we really grasp and we understand the connection and how we need each other in order to make it work, then we will never get it. So that will always be like a challenge. We've had businesses, Terone, who started out giving us like $10,000 because our budget is extreme. And now when they give us what, $500? So there's a big difference between that and $500. Some people give you $200. Some institutions give you $200. And, but the magnitude, the payback, what are we doing? Not only for your business, but the youth development, Anguilla. What are we giving back to ensure that our society remains what it is as a people, culturally? So you see, so it takes a whole community to raise a child. So when we come to you, this is a non-profit organization. Every member on this association, we do this for free. Past, present, and future, we'll be doing it for free. So when we ask for your assistance, and a lot of companies can do better, they can, and they choose not to. They choose not to, and that's the sad part.
And now that we're talking about support and the injection into Anguilla's economy, can you tell us and the general public how many cyclists are we expecting for this event that's coming up? And we only talking about the cyclists, which I assume would also come with other people along them.
Correct. So right now we have an average, like I said, between the 2 days, we have an average of 80 participants in each race. So Saturday we're looking at 79 persons who will be taking part in the crit race, and then on the Sunday we're looking at 83 persons who are registered for the Jaunty Classic. Now that is a lot. When I say you have Masters A category, Masters B category, which is age bracket from 35 to age 49 for Masters A, age 50 to 59 is Masters B, and 60 plus is Masters C. That category alone is very popular. Still is in the Caribbean. We have cyclists who do this for fun, and they enjoy doing it, travel different countries, experience the cultures. That's all Masters category, which is huge. And then our second large group is our elites, where we have close to maybe 19 elites who will be competing for the big $2,500 prize. Our juniors, which is just under our elites, they're looking very strong as well too. So the numbers for Sunday race and the same for Saturday race, which is going to be the crit, the majority of the participants in the Saturday race are youths. So we're looking at a large portion of our competitors on the Saturday race is the youth category. They're going to be having the opportunity to showcase their talents, their skills, what they have been working on, sharpening their abilities for the whole year, just to showcase on that day on Saturday. So that is something that we are looking forward to. And like I said, the numbers are very pleasing. And I think persons coming out who's going to witness these races going to enjoy those spectacles.
And you spoke, Mr. Hodge, in terms of the youth. You spoke about that the association is currently focusing a lot on the grassroots. So how are the youth being introduced into cycling? And if you can tell us as well, how many clubs do we have actively in cycling, and an average of the number of participants, if you have the information?
Currently we have 2 active clubs right now, 2 active grassroots clubs officially, members of our association, specifically the Wheels on Fire. They originate in Blowing Point area, where they have practices on a daily basis, training sessions regularly, and they have a close membership of like 30 cyclists as well. Brutal Pedals, centrally located, they have a membership close to 20. So a lot of our youths engage in cycling through those 2 member grassroots programs. And we start off by just asking them if you could ride a bike. It doesn't have to be a gear racing bike or road bike, it could be a BMX. And then you graduate into changing gears or clipping in endurance bike racing, like road bike and stuff, and if you like it. But it speaks to allowing young ones, youth, to be able to have an outlet on their energy, and we facilitate that through our member clubs or grassroots clubs and stuff.
So what is the starting age to be able to register your children into, for the parents that are interested in registering their children for cycling? It's important for them to know what's the minimum age.
Like how Derick said, as long as your foot can go over the crossbar, you can ride a bike. As long as you can ride a bike, these same member clubs, they're gonna welcome you. We have categories that start from under 9. That's our first competitive category. So anyone 7 years old, 8 years old, you can actually 6 years old, you can compete in that U9 category. And of course, your age will graduate you into the other category. And they go cycling. Anytime you're dedicated to it, you put in the time, you will easily graduate with the competition in that particular category that you're in.
And just coming back into John T, the significance of John T. What does it mean for the youth that we are bringing on board? What does it mean for them, the John T race, and to being able to reach the elite level as well as a cyclist?
I think the tangible asset that you can dwell on is realizing the possibility of how far you can go. Mm-hmm. And this race is the bridging gap of forming community connections, and so to exploit the possibility of going beyond Anguilla. Right. So the race itself, jaunty, because of what we draw to our shores here in Anguilla as an island, you would find then that it would afford them an opportunity, because people are looking at you too. People are scouting. You never know who's there.
So the case in point, most of our cyclists, they are from clubs. Our local cyclists, they belong to clubs. It could be the Morning Riders, it could be Anguilla Riders. We also have the Brutal Pedals, like I made mention of. We have Wheels on Fire. Those are different clubs we have in the island here in Anguilla. And those cyclists will graduate to what we consider as the national team, where the coveted jersey represent Anguilla in regional races such as Antigua and Barbuda's Walker Juniors race that we had recently that we dominated. They would go over to St. Martin, where we would take part in stage races in St. Martin. Even to excel from the Caribbean elite championships or the junior championships, they will represent Anguilla wearing the same uniforms and jerseys. And then to the case in point, we'll have individuals like Delroy and Danny Lloyd and Hassani Hennis Zambizi. Those guys would have gone on the international stages and represent Anguilla with Commonwealth in races in UK, in Australia, in Santo Domingo, in Cuba. They were taking part in a lot of races throughout the whole region, representing Anguilla on the elite level. So.
And from your perspective in the association, what does it mean for cyclists to make it to the region level, to be able to represent and race on different levels of cycling outside of Anguilla? And how can they make it there?
Oh man, I can imagine being a representative of Anguilla and cycling, you're ambassador. Your name, face all over the place. The level of popularity that is known with being a representative of Anguilla cycling. Everyone knows you, you know. You can put your face on the side of a Wheaties box or a cornflakes box, and you know, you could market that. But it also gives them a sense of accomplishment. You know, this is something that we're working towards. It's not something that happens overnight. That's one thing for sure. It shows that you have a level of commitment and dedication, discipline. These are things that are synonymous with cycling that you have to have as a character growing into the sport, and you develop that. So it's not only about the health benefits, it's not only about the popularity benefits, but it's also a lot of mental as well that's affiliated with being I would say international or locally renowned cyclist.
And
but before you go on, Terone spoke about only 50% of what it takes to get out there for that cyclist. What we've learned is it's a learning process for everybody. There is the cyclist who's the athlete. You got to put in the time and the effort. But then there's a lot of paperwork behind the scenes, a lot of engagements, there's a lot of communication and everything that the association, the sports department, the government of Anguilla and everything would have to do in order for, so it's a holistic approach for that one cyclist or a group of cyclists to get out there and make it on the world stage. So it is not just the athlete. You know, it's also amalgamated kind of thing. So, you know, he spoke about half about the athlete, what he or she would be doing. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of work behind the scenes, correspondence. When you sign off a signature and everything, that's your name going on top of that. And there's accountability, there's all of these things, because people are going to be going at you and asking you questions.
And I gotta say, we are a child organization association of the parent being the Anguilla sports department. And they are the ones keeping our balances in check, making sure that we comply with their regulations and their expectations. And I gotta say, tip my hat, kudos to all the directors and the officers in that department, because if it wasn't through them, we as volunteers, we would easily do sort of things that how we find fit to make the sport happen. It's not always so in the administrative world. So it's through the Department of Sports where we are learning, like what Derick would say, we are learning of this new thing of how to make sure the checks are being balanced, making sure that we comply with what they're expecting, and they have to answer the government of Anguilla as well too, how that money is being spent and how the development is happening. And it's a lot of questions. It's a lot of making sure boxes are being checked and things are being verified. And I will say, they being one of our major and platinum sponsors, it helps us to develop this not just as a hobby, but rather as an industry, as a sport that we can all develop, and in Anguilla we can all benefit from. So I will say that being a part of the sports association, being a part of the sports ministry, it helps us to nurture and grow the development of cycling, specific sports cycling, into that international level. So.
And Ms. Kara, I was actually going to ask that question in terms of the cyclist, because as you all mentioned, cycling is expensive. It's a very expensive sport. So I was going to ask, what other support does the association give to the cyclists in the time that they're preparing to represent Anguilla on a regional stage?
So we offer all that's necessary. Like I say, it's through the auspices of the Ministry of Sports. We offered grants, we offered financial assistance and aid that's fitting to the particular development. So as long as there's structure and there's justification, we can easily go down that particular realm. Just for example, whenever we have a training competition in a nearby country or island, we apply for such a grant or such a injection of finances so that these cyclists can develop and compete in those particular races. It is a tall order. Sometimes, like I say, it's a very expensive sport. The cyclists not just traveling by themselves, they have to travel with a box that contains their very expensive bike to protect it, and that costs money just to ship that alone. So it is very expensive when it comes to traveling within the Caribbean region to take part in these different races. And it's, like I said, the support through the ministry that makes these things happen.
Amazing. And for the association, as we all know, these events take a lot of financial support behind it to be able to make them a reality. So you've mentioned that the Department of Sports and the ministry has been very supportive. Community members, businesses has been supported. Do you all also involve in fundraisers to support your events?
Every race that we have is technically a fundraiser for us. We use the ticket price, the administration price, as a source of funds for us to help offset the cost for the race. We have volunteers who we offer, like I say, it's an offer of token of appreciation. It's not a pay, but it's a token of appreciation for the work that they do when they help us with widening the road and traffic, making sure that the cyclists are safe on the road for every race. So these are operating costs for us as well too. We have purchased drinks. Sometimes we get drinks donated. We have to contribute prizes, trophies, different things. These are stuff that we have to cover the cost of. Most times, like I say, most sponsors will contribute, but sometimes we actually pay for as well. So every time we have a race, it's a way of income for us when we charge to have these races and so forth. No, we don't have bake sales. No, we may not have a car wash. But because the time it takes for us to organize the key thing that we are focused on, like the racing and stuff, we have races, two races a month. Our season starts in February and end off in October. And this, in order to make our cyclists competitive, we sort of compelled to have races every so often, every 2 weeks. Race hard, rest 1 week, race another week. Sort of set up. And this allows them to be competitive, so when they go over to St. Martin, to maybe Antigua and take part in a race, they are well conditioned and they're in shape to be able to compete as well.
Amazing. And looking forward into the future, what are 2-3 goals that the association has identified that you would like to accomplish within the next 3 to 5 years?
We are laser focused on youth development. We have to have continuation. It's something that you can't speak well of the sport if it dies within a 10-year period. You would say cycling was good back in the 90s, or cycling was good back in the 2000s, but it dropped off in 2020 or 2030, or whatever the case may be. There's no value to it. We used to have cycling. No one want to have that conversation. So it's in our interest, supporters, parents, coaches out there, get involved. If you see a youngster who's on the street and have extra time, you could mentor him, you can coach him, you can get some way of encouragement to them to get involved in. It may not be cycling, it could be any sport. An opportunity for them to channel their energies into a positive, meaningful way in society. And we find that the continuation has to exist if we continue to support our youngsters out there, our youth in the community, get them involved in these associations, get them involved in these member clubs, have that participation and active in something positive. That's what we are focusing on, developing cycling in the youth area perspective. When it comes to finances, we wish that we'd be able to have cycling to be able to stand on its own, to be able to be self-sustainable in a sense where we don't have to rely on grants and stuff to be able to travel, to be able to have that ability to be competitive, but financially responsible as well too. So those are some of the things I would say we look forward to for cycling in the future. And that could happen by having core sponsors who are willing to support you whenever you have an event, and willing to interject funds or finances so that you can be sustainable and continue to go on. Unlike arena style sports like basketball and football, you can't have a cover charge that will allow persons to come in and contribute to the operation itself. Most of our spectators, we watch online, we watch on the side of the road and stuff. So it's very difficult to say have a cost being covered by persons who are actually being spectators of the particular race. So it's important that we have a balance between self-sustainable, being injected by co-sponsors and so forth, and as well as having it entertaining. You have to have the product. You have to have cyclists who can deliver. So.
And before we close off tonight, I would like us to touch a bit on our current cyclists that will be representing us in the Commonwealth Games, and if we have any other cyclists that is also representing us in the region, or any upcoming cyclists that we should keep an eye on.
Yeah, oh, definitely. So right now, after John T, we are laser focused on a discipline called track cycling. This is what's going to be hosted in Scotland, the Commonwealth 2026 Commonwealth Games. And right now we have a cyclist, an elite cyclist, who has sort of been developing into this new realm of cycling, track cycling. This is a fixie, style bike. There are no gears, there is no brakes. So once you pedal up, you have to sort of slowly bring your speed back down by using resistance in your legs. It's very challenging, and you're going wrong in a 1 kilometer, sometimes 500 kilometer velodrome that gives you that speed and has a wall that is 22 degrees and bank that you have to whip around and not get lapped or not get knocked over by time. Very challenging, very different in sport, I would say, discipline in cycling. And our very own Hodge-Carty, one of our elite cyclists, local elite cyclists, has taken up that challenge. He's gone to training in Trinidad, where they have a velodrome in Trinidad. He spent 1 month initially in Trinidad, came back and went straight to Pennsylvania and New York, did some races in Pennsylvania, and then we flew him back to Trinidad to top up the race and training. He took part in 2 weeks of racing in Trinidad again. So just to get him up to speed, and he'll be competing with fellows like Nicholas Paul and Akil Campbell, those guys who have had years in track cycling, those guys whose thighs are maybe 22 inches and go off this huge monstrous of athletes. And it'll be a challenge for us, but at the same time too a welcome challenge, because to speak to persons out there who think it's only about road cycling, it's a lot more. There are a lot of other disciplines that you can join cycling in. It could be BMX, it could be track cycling, it could be road cycling, it could be stunting. Just popping your bike and sticking in one spot and spinning the frame around on the handlebar, on the front fork. Those are skills that are recognized by UCI, and you could be a champion by just being on your bike and practicing those skills. So we look forward to encouraging cyclists out there, like I say, from Derick to newcomer, Kamari Ruan right now is a newcomer when it comes to the youth in the junior category. He's actually looking good, very compelling. Ephraim Hughes Hodge, another great athlete. Logan Royden, another awesome athlete. Zach Lake Pancho, Zachary. These are some young guys. I saw Zachary stick his bike, just playing around, and he stayed in one spot. Hassim Hennis, another champion of ours local, again, he is the son of Hassani Hennis. He has currently the record for the longest sticking position, 19 minutes. Wow. He stayed on his bike without touching the ground for 19 minutes. And that's some of the competitions that we are welcoming right now. We want the youth out there to go out there and practice and ride your bike and compete, because we are looking for the next era, next generation to step up.
Yeah. And I would like to congratulate Hodge-Carty. He has a very interesting challenge coming soon, and I would like to wish him the best on this new challenge that he's gonna take on, and we hope that he brings back to us the awards. And if he doesn't, you are already a champion. Just for the mere fact of where you've gotten. And I'm happy to know, because that was going to be my follow-up question, and I'm happy to know that we already have new prospects coming up to take over in the near future. But in terms of the communities, the schools, and government as well, what would you like to see, or what would you like us to do to help the development of cycling in Anguilla?
We look forward to structure. Right now we have, when you look at the education setup in the school, so focus on education, focus on the primary school setup. It's very challenging to interject any new direction, any new challenge to the school curricular system, where you have cycling being a part of a challenge, a part of a structure or schedule for activities. The schools are very packed, they're very compressed when it comes to activities. If we can get in that schedule and have it structured, we have our football competitions, we have our netball competitions, we should be able to have our cycling competitions as well too. So students who are already exposed and training, they have an opportunity to showcase and also get the incentive that, yes, I feel appreciated for the efforts I have done. So those are some of the things I would like that we focus on, be able to develop into when it comes to structuring with the education system and the youth development.
Amazing. And as we closed off, what message would you like to leave to the people of Anguilla about cycling and its development, and John T. to continue to be a success for Anguilla, especially when we speak about sports tourism?
Yeah, definitely support. If you are out there, like we say, something that Anguilla is known for is having the supporters on the side of the road. Also, if you wish to come by the tent and say, I want to assist you guys, what do you want me to do? Sure, we welcome any form of support. It don't have to be financial, like I mentioned before, it's expensive. Your time in kind, those are different avenues. We will really welcome persons in the community out there to help out. If you want to help some youngsters and getting their bikes fixed, or even want to start a club, definitely those are avenues that we are looking and we are welcoming, so we can have continuation in the sport in cycling Anguilla. We all love to say yes, we help cycling continue for the next 25 years, because to come to 25 years, it's a tall order. Yeah. All of us, we just standing on the shoulders of persons like Evan Gums, Pat Hodge and standing ground, members, past presidents like George Lake and Miguel Leverett and Sharon Richardson. Those are persons who would have passed the mantle on so that we can be at this point, 25 years later, be at this point to say, yes, John T is something that these cyclists in the region, they come to Anguilla to take part in. And that's all we want to do, just have that continuation.
Mr. Carter, what message would you like to leave to the people of Anguilla, and especially the lovers of cyclists?
One word, communication. Because if you have a preconceived notion as to what it is, what we are doing, you can approach any member of the cycling fraternity, and they will go. It's just a simple process, because Terone would have indicated that there are so many things that needs to be done. Our team is only 5 members, right? And you would find that we have all hands on deck, and we need the help. We always can do with more help. We can do with more contributions, whether it's time or traffic wardens. At this point in time, I would just like to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Our traffic wardens came on board to donate their time too. Yeah. And just to be able to make the race safe for our cyclists, that you can't put a price on that. And communication, as I would have indicated before, come to us, have a dialogue. If you see something that is not going right, come to us. Do not stay in your corners and speak about it and allow it to fester to the cancerous kind of thing, because it does not do nothing to advance the sport of cycling. If you see something that needs to be improved, come to one of us. Sure. We are always there to listen, to see how we can improve. Cycling is not about us. It's about all of us. It is not just about the team, but it's about all of us. Government, sports department, the cyclists, the association members, traffic wardens, the pedestrians, the drivers, the motorists. It's about all of us holistically that can make this one race. Not only that one race in particular, but every other cycle race here in Anguilla, just to make it a success.
And before I close off now, one last thing that I forgot. It would be good to tell the general public who are all the members of the association. As you're volunteers, and it's important and very vital for the public to know who are the members of the association. Yeah. And appreciate and thank all the work you do behind the scenes, volunteering for this to be a reality.
Derick did say it's a 5-member squad, and it is a 5-member squad currently. I'm assisted by my vice president, Mr. Calvert Fleming, and my general secretary, my assistant general secretary, Vion Chick Brooks, followed by my assistant and treasurer, Cathy Ann Roberts, Cathy Ann Sylvester. And also I'm here with Derick, PR. So we have a small team. Everyone sort of like a utility knife, different blades, being able to facilitate many different facilities, different responsibilities at the same time. So it's very, like I said, it's very unique challenge, and I welcome it because everything is sort of interesting when you take a step back and analyze how it works as a sport, very technical. So, but I'd like to thank my full team. For the past 4 years, we've been gelling, we've been arguing, we've been clashing, lashing teeth back and forth, but one objective: to develop sport of cycling in Anguilla. And I think that is what the main focus is all about. And like I said before, I'm appreciative of the different ideas, the different level of communication, responsibilities, and actions on it. So there have been a very good team for the past, for my tenure. and I will show my appreciation to them on a regular basis.
Thank you so much. So, gentlemen, I would like to thank you both for joining us tonight to speak or discuss about cycling in Anguilla, and especially the 25th anniversary of John T. race that's coming up this week. Thank you once again for being with us. And I would like to encourage the general public to come out and support the 25th anniversary of the John T. race that will be taking place on Sunday, but we will be on since Friday.
Yeah,
correct?
from Friday. We'll be starting off on Friday with the opening ceremony. That's going to be our cocktail event. And then Saturday will be hosted at the Anguilla Great House, correct?
Yes.
And then on Saturday, we're going to have our criterium race and youth races around the block in the Queen Elizabeth. Everything's going to start at 10 in the a.m. So 10 o'clock both Saturday morning and 10 o'clock Sunday morning. We're going to have our races, the big 25th anniversary John T. Memorial Race.
So people of Anguilla, drive safely, come out and support the John T. race, and do not stay home. Well, you can leave your cars home, but ride your bike to the event. And also like to thank the sponsors that took time to support the events.
Yes.
And I know you all look forward to continued support from obviously government and other members of the business community in Anguilla. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Thank you.